Hey YouTube, my name is Nick James and I'm going to be teaching you guitar. If you've been learning the pentatonic scale but haven't been able to see the chord that exists within that shape, this lesson's for you. We're going to be looking at the major pentatonic today, and it's only got 5 shapes and they actually correspond perfectly with the CAGED system. So within each pentatonic shape, there's actually one of your CAGED chord shapes. So with this lesson, hopefully you'll be able to, learn your pentatonic and target the chord tones when you're playing over that chord. So we're going to use C major as our chord of choice and pentatonic of choice. And we're going to start here on the C shape. And, the most important thing when you're learning your pentatonic isn't just to learn the shape itself as like dots on a fretboard and just try to play up and down it as fast as you can. To play, more flavorful solos and, just to sound better in general, you're going to want to know where your chord tones are, and that's right out of your triad. So we had a few lessons on that I'll link below, but today is all about, being able to mix, the chord shape in the pentatonic, being able to clearly see it and target those notes when you're playing your pentatonic scale, because that's probably the first scale you're going to learn. The pentatonic is made up of 5 notes. So if we have C major pentatonic, 3 of those notes are actually the triad for C major. So C, E, and G are all in the pentatonic. We only have 2 other notes, and that's this A note, which is its relative minor. And then we also have the second, which is D. 1, 2, 3. So those are the 5 notes, and conveniently in every one of these pentatonic shapes you're going to learn, there's going to be a corresponding CAGED chord shape. So in this open C, we have this shape right here. And, within that shape, you should be able to see where your major third is, which is E, and open E, and open E down here. So that, E note is going to be great to target in your solos because the third always resolves back to the 1 really well and just is going to sound really tasteful sliding into it. So all that is E and then C, 3, 1. But if you don't know where those chord tones exist within the pentatonic shape, you're kind of just going to end up kind of wandering around this shape without anything musical coming out of it, which that's the whole point. So that first C shape has its own pentatonic scale. If we moved up to the A shape, this is the same C major chord. We're just playing it up the neck in its next chord shape. We have a pentatonic scale right within that chord. So if we were going to go ahead and call out, again, the chord tones, we have our 1, C, its 5th, G, and its 3rd, E. We also have a C right here, and a G right here. And then lastly, you have a G on the bottom note, the 5th. So that's all your chord tones right within that shape. So when you're learning the pentatonic, take the time to kind of arpeggiate just the chord tones within that pentatonic shape. And it's going to help you in the long run, because I wasted a lot of time learning the pentatonic, and mostly I just figured if I learned the minor pentatonic, that just means that everything's going to click, and if I'm playing over its relative major, anything I play is going to sound good, and that's just really not the case. You're going to want to know where these major thirds are if you're playing over C major, just to be able to, sound more musical and kind of make a more tasteful solo at the end of the day, instead of just wandering up and down the scale. So we're moving right up. We have the G shape next. So CAGED, we have C, A, G. And this is home base. Everybody kind of learns this pentatonic shape as kind of their first shape to learn. And that's fine. But if you're, taking the time to learn A minor, which is the same exact notes, it's just got more of a focus on A, it's minor third and fifth E, which there's some common tones there. But A, playing A over C major is not a problem. It just doesn't need to be the focal point of your solo. If you're playing over C major, try to think of the pentatonic as C major pentatonic, not necessarily A minor, even though they have the same notes. So if we're going to play that C major pentatonic, we'll start with our pinky on the C note of the 8th fret of the E string. And then we have the root, it's second D, it's major third E, which can also resolve down to C on the 5th fret of the G string. So we have root, second, third, 5th, and 6th, A. And that's it. Those are the 5 notes. They're just going to repeat themselves. And again, do the same exercise where you're, taking the chord tones and arpeggiating them, just to make sure you know where the outline of the chord is within that pentatonic. And, right after we, learn the G shape, the next shape is the E shape. So this has a lot of really cool musical stuff in it. Like when you slide into the major third, it resolves down to C really well. It's kind of the same lick as we learned down here, but you're playing it just at a different place in the fretboard. So within this E shape, we have C, the root, it's 5th G, and it's major third E. And if we keep going up the rest of the strings, we'll see C, and then we'll have its 5th G, we'll have its major third E again, and then C. But there's a whole pentatonic scale right within that shape, and when you learn it, try to pick out the chord tones and at least start to visualize where that chord shape exists right within that pentatonic. So leads us to our last shape, the D-shaped C chord. So this chord has a major third, E, comes right out of this D shape. Then we have C. Then we have its fifth, G. And if we're going down the rest of the pentatonic shape to pick out the chord tones, we have the third, the root, C, the fifth, it's major third again, E. We have the root, C, G, the fifth, and then E, the third. And this pentatonic shape looks something like this. And it's really cool when you start seeing the connection between the pentatonic shapes because they're not different. You know, they have the same notes. The reason they look different is because the intervals of the strings kind of change. So we'll look at this position because it's probably the most popular. And this is right before we leave. So this is the last kind of food for thought when you're, learning this pentatonic scale. Learn it in the major pentatonic. And then when you're learning each shape, try to pick out where that caged chord shape fits in. But this bottom part here has obviously these 4 notes. 1, 6, 5, 3. So C, A, G, and E. We're going to actually be able to play these same notes in this position by starting on C. Then we'll have A. But because the way the tuning of the guitar works, these, 2 strings are tuned a little differently, a half step down. So when I have to play the next 2 notes, I have to go a half step down. But they're the same 2 notes, or same 4 notes. And if I were to do that same exercise on the, rooted on the G string, I'm just again going to try to find my C note. And it's right here. And try to do this again on the D string if I were to go and try to find my C. And you can continue to do this exercise up the neck. This will help you a lot kind of connect the pentatonics and realize that, they really are exactly the same. It's just I got to change a little bit of where I'm going to fret these notes depending on, what strings I'm playing them on. And you're going to mostly solo on these higher strings, and that's kind of where it gets a little tricky because the intervals are all the same on these top 4. But once we get to the G and the B string, they're tuned to a major third instead of a 4th. So you just kind of have to move them around. I hope you're getting a lot out of these lessons, and if you want to keep up with them, go ahead and subscribe. If you like the video, please like it, and then share it with anybody else that might get some value out of this and wants to improve on guitar. Thanks for watching, and have a nice weekend.